So good morning, I'm Stephanie Race. I'm the head of research and outreach here at the University of North Florida. A couple little housekeeping things before we start. There are some handouts up here if you want to grab them. They're not necessary for anything. Most of them, everything I'm going to show you anyway online, but some people like paper, so I provided paper. Couple things, we're in here. We are scheduled to be here until 11. I know I am the only thing that stands between you and lunch. I don't think we'll go till 11 because you are the only thing that stands between me and going home for the day. So, no, that's not really true, but kind of. So, couple things. We're in here for a while. If you need to take a body break, bathrooms are out in the lobby. There are vending machines out there if you need more caffeine. You guys are the most caffeinated group. There's somebody in here with 3 cups. So a couple things. I am the liaison for the College of Health. So I'm the librarian who works with the College of Health. That may change over the summer. We are hiring some new people. Depending on who we hire, there may be somebody who's way more appropriate than I am for College of Health. Any of the librarians here can help you. So you've got a bunch of different pieces of paper. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but anybody can help you. He mentioned taking notes. We are recording today's session. Cross your fingers it actually works. We will send it over to CERT. They will process it, and then it will get linked up on your Canvas page. I do have access to your Canvas page. I am not monitoring closely. Just to be real honest with you. There is a page on here, so I want to go in and show you. I've added, there is a module. In Module 2, there's a web search refresher with the UNF librarian. That would be me. And I have added a bunch of links in here that will help you. As we go through today, the other Stephanie is here with us. If something comes up where I feel like you guys ask a question and we need to add something else here, I will do that. But almost everything here is available on our webpage as well. So you're going to be able to get to things in multiple places. Everybody has their preference, but I did want to show you that. I also want to show you kind of where we're headed in terms of what we're talking about and how this is going to translate this semester for you all. You're all developing a PICO question. You're going to do some research. I did monitor this week's discussion where that little conversation about not the right format, and I was also curious about where we were headed. But one of the questions was, one of the comments was, you're going to need to do literature search to find material to support. And the first one that got posted, which was some drug that started with an... Thank you. I actually went to look for stuff. I think we're going to want to talk about that one. So as we move through, if you've already got your question, be thinking about that as we look at the databases and work through that. But I do want to show you. So Module 2 is where the information is about this session, but if you have looked ahead, you're actually in Module 5 doing the literature database searching, and there is a sample literature database search table. You're going to submit something that looks something like this, where you're filling in, I searched this database, these are the terms I searched, and 2 of the handouts I gave you will sort of help you with that. People like to do this in different versions, so I gave you a couple options. If you didn't pick them up, they're hand-ups in the front. I think I have enough. If I don't, we can get more. I will say I really like the one that's got the structured searching PICO one. There are also links to these online. I'm going to show you where these are. But I think this will serve you well as you continue to do lit searches. But I kind of wanted to show you where this was tied to. We are not just showing you literature searching for your health. It is for the health of your grade. So there's a purpose for this. So I'm going to jump into the library. We are, and I'm trying really hard because we're recording this to make sure that everything is on the screen so that your friends who are not in the room can see this. So we are going to work from the library's website, but I want to show you this LibGuide, which is the libguides.unf.edu/nursing. It is a really great place for you to start. There is a link to that from your Canvas site as well. So we're going to start in the library's website. And And I'm going to talk through a couple things. We're going to talk about just some of the basic services. I get the impression you guys are regular library users. Somebody actually mentioned having a Carol. Okay, so a couple of you actually have Carols in graduate study rooms, what we're officially calling them now. So there's some services that we have that I just want to talk about as an overview of things you can use that sometimes people don't realize. We assume that once you get to this point, you know, and a lot of times you can finish your PhD and never know about some of the services we offer. So we're going to try to make that not happen. You've got, everybody pick up one of these. It's a nice overview of some of the services that are offered to graduate students here at the university. The thing that to me is most important, on the inside flap in the lower left is research consultations. And this is a service that we provide. If you're on their webpage, it's a service we provide. It's at the bottom, research consultations. You can make an appointment with a librarian for help with your research. So when you're doing the research on the S drug that I can't say.
Yeah. Bridian is the other name, it's easier.
What is it?
Bridian.
Bridian, I might be able to say Bridian. So if you're doing the research on Bridian and you can't find what you're looking for, but you really believe that it's out there, one of the things you can do is make an appointment with a librarian. And so the research consultation option is how you do that. It's the thing, there will be a quiz on this at the end of the day, the end of your time with me. You simply click on it. It is schedule driven, so you would come in here and say, I want to make an appointment with a librarian to help me with my research. You can go about this in two different ways. You can say, well, Stephanie Race did my class and I want to meet with her, and you could pick me. Unfortunately, right now, if you pick me, I'm not available. I'm, for personal reasons, not here. So you couldn't make an appointment with me until Tuesday, which is a great example of why my personal preference is to say no preference. Every librarian who does research consultations can assist you with your research. All of us can do this. If you say no preference, then if you know, oh, I'm back here on next Friday and I'm going to have time at, I'm going to have time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I want to make an appointment with a librarian, you can make the appointment at your convenience. And I would highly encourage you to do that. If you can't get an appointment with the librarian at the time that you need, you'll notice, for those of you who are listening, I'm trying hard not to point, that there is if you require a time that's not available, email the library instruction team. So if you wanted an appointment on Friday at 7 o'clock because you had to be here at 8 o'clock, you could email the instruction team and we would try to make that happen. That's not I'm typically the only one here that early in the morning. But we would try to make that happen because some of you are coming, a bunch of you are coming from out of town. We can also do these online and over the phone. So for those of you who are in other places, I know we have somebody in Tampa. Where else are you guys?
We'll be in Georgia.
So Tampa, some of you in Georgia. I saw somebody was in Texas online.
Yeah, there's two that are outside.
Yeah, so we can do these online as well. So we'll just say, I want to do this at 2 o'clock next Friday. You tell us a bit about yourself. It's really important that we get this information. What your status is. The location is where you tell us how you want to meet. So I want to meet here in the building. I want to meet via video chat. So if you're in Texas and you can't come to campus, we can do this via video chat. We can also do it via phone. If you say phone, make sure you tell us which phone number is. It's really helpful, really, really helpful. And then we can also meet in other on-campus locations. So maybe you guys were going to be in a class somewhere and a group of you wanted to meet together. We could meet you in your classroom. We'd bring a laptop or something, but we could do someplace else on campus. Maria has a whole group of people who meet her in Starbucks. I'd rather meet here. I know the connection's going to work. And then the really important piece is describing your project for us. So what are you working on? And if you just say, I'm working on my PICO question, I can't do a lot of work. If you say, I'm working on my PICO question and this is what it is, and tell us where you're having problems or what you need assistance with. I need evidence-based research. I need diagnostic materials. What it is that you're looking for, the more you tell us, the more homework we can do and the better prepared we'll be. We do typically do our homework. If we get a question that we don't know, we send it to each other. We have a list of people who do these things, and my boss sent one the other day. I've been out. He got a computing question, which is typically my field, and he sent an email, and he's like, I have no idea what this is. And then we confer with each other so that when the person shows up to work with you, they are prepared to work with you. This is going to be important. Don't wait until the day before your lit review stuff is due to be doing this, because you'll be really frustrated with yourself. And listening to you as you guys talked when you came in, you also don't have time for that. It sounds like you're super busy. So you really want to plan this into your schedule just to make sure that you can get it done. So I'm going to go back to the front page of the library, scroll down to the bottom, research consultations. I should also add the caveat that sometime late this summer, the library's webpage is going to change. Research consultations will still be on the front page of the website. I can guarantee you that, and hopefully it will not be at the bottom of the page. But you will still be able to find the research consultations. So a couple things I want to point out on this screen just as we get started, and I'll say if you guys have questions throughout, raise your hands, don't be shy. We want to get them asked. Because I don't want you to go home and be, I don't know what she was talking about. And if I talk too fast and get too far ahead, back me up. Because when we get into the databases, that's going to happen. If you miss a step, back me up. So on the library's front page, there's a couple things I want to point out just to start. There's a navigation bar at the top. Anybody going to only do their research here in the building? Nobody. Okay. Everybody likes to work at home in their pajamas. The most important thing you need to know is that in the navigation bar at the top, under the My Accounts here in the right-hand side, if you click on that, there's an option that says Remote Login. Every time you log in to do library research, do that first. How many of you clicked on it and nothing happened? Did anybody click on it? You click on it in this building, nothing happens. When you click on it at home, and the reason nothing happens is we are logged in because we're on the university network. If you click on it from home, it should ask you for your N number and your password. So your multi-digit password that nobody can remember. Those are the things you need to enter, and what that does is it authenticates you as a university student. This is why you haven't been able to make things work.
And keeps you from being kicked out.
It keeps you from being kicked out. Yes, this was worth the price of admission, wasn't it? Aren't you glad you showed up at 8 o'clock? This is something, we get a lot of Saturday calls from nursing students who can't get into Cochrane or they can't get into something. And typically, the solution to that is, did they do the remote login? If you start with the remote login, the system says, oh yeah, they're a UNF student, let them have access to anything they want. How many of you have done this and it's told you, well, yes, you can have this if you pay $39.99 for an article? A couple of you have seen that. Don't pay for articles. Nobody should pay for an article. We have a service also listed under My Accounts. All the good stuff hides under My Accounts. We have a service called Interlibrary Loan. It's an account you set up. How many of you have used that? I hear a couple mm-hms. I'm seeing some nods. Interlibrary loan, if there are articles that you want, if there are books that you want that UNF does not have available to you, we can get them for you. It is a free service that we offered. It is a service that you should take advantage. Please don't pay for articles. You're paying enough for tuition and classes and gas, I heard. Apparently y'all are driving a lot. So interlibrary loan is a service that you'll use. It can be pretty quick. So a lot of times students will say, but it's going to take too long. If what you're looking for is an article, typically the turnaround time on an article can be 24 or 48 hours. It depends on your timing when you submit it and who's working. Books might take a little bit longer. The other thing to know is for those of you who are not here in Jacksonville, as university students in the state of Florida, your UNF library card will get you access at other state universities and state colleges. Y'all didn't know that one. So for those of you who are in Tampa, you can go to USF and you should be able to use your library card at USF to take advantage of their services.
Library card, you mean ours?
Your Osprey One card, yes. Your Osprey One card should get you access to their collections. it may take a while. It may be one of those things where it's not something we do a lot of, but it is something that is available to you. Yes?
That includes Daytona State?
You should have access to Daytona State College because it is a state college. And again, it's one of those things, we don't do a lot of it, so you may have to talk to a couple people before you can find the person who can make it work for you, but it should be an option for you. It actually came up here, one of our student assistants who is home in Gainesville for the summer is actually coming back here to pick up a book, and in my head is to make sure I tell Christina, you know you could use other places. Your public library can also do interlibrary loans for you. So they may not have access to the same kind of the breadth of databases, but they will also do interlibrary loans for you. So if you are not here, so for those of you who are out of state, your public library should be able to do interlibrary loans and get books for you. We'll get articles and just, they show up electronically, so that's not a big deal if you're not in state, but the books may be a little more difficult for you. If you are out of state, if you are out of town as a distance learner, you can contact Interlibrary Loan to find out if they will mail you books. So that may be a service you also want to take advantage of. I think you would have better luck using the services of your public library just in terms of the ease of it, but you'd want to check and see what level of service they provide. Because public library services do vary place to place. Not all public libraries do interlibrary loan anymore. Questions about ILL? How many of you had no idea those things were available? Okay. Okay, I feel like today's worth it now. If you check out books while you're here and you realize they're due and you're not coming back, there is the Renew Books Online option here. So if you've checked something out and it's like, oh, it's due, you can renew it online and not have to be back here. I would encourage you to take advantage of that so that you don't pay fines. It's always sad when people have fines. We don't really want to take your money. Okay, so those are some of the My County services. Going to talk a little bit about things on the front page of the website. We do have this FAQ, the Got Questions. So if there's something you think somebody else asked this question, you might want to check the FAQ. Our hours are listed here. Typically in the spring and fall, as those of you who've been here know, we're open till 3:30 in the morning, 5 days a week. We're open a lot during spring and fall. Summer hours are a little more reduced. We are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We close at 5 on Fridays, and then our Saturday and Sunday hours. Saturday, I think we're 10 to 6, and Sunday, I think we're 1 to 10. So hours are a little different during the summer, but we are around. And then I pointed out the research and consultation appointments. And then group study rooms. I know a number of you have carrels so that when you're in the building you actually have access to a carrel. But if you don't and you want to work as a group, so you're here on a Friday, you've got a block of time, your group wants to get together, you can reserve study rooms. And so the group study rooms may actually be something y'all want to reserve. You can reserve rooms a week in advance. You need to have 2 UNF students because you have to have 2 N numbers. If you don't have 2 N numbers and you don't have 2 UNF email addresses, it doesn't work. I tried it. And your N numbers and email addresses actually have to match. I tried that too. I couldn't figure out why my reservation wouldn't work, and then I realized they didn't match. But the group study rooms, the green is when things are available. We're much slower in the summer than we are in the fall and spring. So things are available. The red, you can see that somebody has booked room 2105 for this afternoon. The rooms on the first floor, they're my favorite rooms because they have windows to the outside and windows to the inside. They're a little bit larger. They're just a nice setup for rooms. The 2104 through 2113 are the rooms right over here. You're shaking your head. They're a little claustrophobic. People don't like, I can just tell, you guys are funny. They're a little, not everybody's favorite. I'm really kind of surprised that that's actually what's reserved. 2116 and 2117 are 2 large rooms in the back here that actually have desks in them. They're okay. 2115, which is actually called the presentation room in 21, and is at the top, maybe the best room in the house. It's got tables that move, chairs that are comfortable. It is a large room. Half of you could fit in that space. And so it typically is one of the favorites. And then 3102 through the third floor rooms are on the third floor, which is a quiet floor. They are slightly larger. They're similar to the rooms on the first floor, but they do require that you work quietly. So our first and second floors are talking floors. Our third and fourth floors are quiet floors. They're pretty much self-monitored, but I can tell by the smiles on some of y'all's faces, you really like that quiet space. But the study rooms are quiet study, and people will come and get us and say, that group is having a party over there, can you make them be quiet? So just be really aware of that depending on what kind of work you're going to do. But with the study rooms, you would pick a time that you want the study room. If you've not done this before, you can do 3 hours at a time, 3 times a week. Once you pick your room, you continue. You enter a name, an email address. It needs to be a UNF, so you need to use your Osprey's email, and then an N number, and then you do a second UNF email and a second N number. And that second, the email and the N number have to match, or it doesn't process. Once you submit, here's the other key to this. Once you submit your booking, you're going to get an email. Typically, that email comes right away. That's how I knew that I'd done something wrong. If the email doesn't come right away, you've done something wrong. If you don't confirm your appointment within 15 minutes, you go back in the queue. So I actually needed 2115. I needed the nice presentation practice room for something. And I sat there and waited for it to go from yellow back to green so I could book it again. And you can watch that. So if you don't get an email, something happened, you should be able to just 15 minutes later, it'll clear out and go back. But if you don't confirm it, it goes back in the queue and somebody else can reserve that room. So that's an important thing. When our hours are extended, the other thing to remember is there is a big difference between 12 noon and 12 midnight. And when finals come around and we're open 24/7 and you can book study rooms, 12 noon and 12 midnight are very, very different things and very different times of day. And when we're busy and you come in at noon and you don't actually have a room, sometimes you're sad. So study rooms, I think, may be something useful to you all. The other thing I'll mention is what we're looking at now are the group study rooms. If you click on the group study room, you get a drop down and you have another option for Mediascape collaboration tables. Along the wall behind us, so here on the second floor on the west side of the floor, there are what are called Mediascape collaboration tables, and they allow you to connect multiple computers and display your screen on the larger screen. So you can connect your laptop, show it on the screen. You can actually connect multiple devices. You can reserve those tables. So if you're in here and you can't get a study room and you can't find a place, sometimes you can get a Mediascape. You can reserve the dual monitor ones. So there are 3 dual monitor ones and there are 2 that have single monitors. You can reserve the dual monitor ones. If you're doing group work, they're really great. A lot of students, we see students in here writing together on them because everybody can see the screen. You can move back and forth. We see students in here studying on them. You can put up study guides and block things. I've actually seen students study and they'll put Post-it notes over like certain pieces on the screen so they can't see the answer or whatever. But they are nice if you're doing collaborative work, and so if you're writing together, that may be something. We also have a mobile one that currently is on the second floor. It moves around the building, but there is a mobile one, and I've seen students who work with that. A couple semesters ago, there was a huge group of nursing students who just lived there for a while. We had a huge table, and they were just living with it. So the study rooms, I think, may be something y'all are going to use. Questions about that? Okay, I'm going to go back to the library's homepage. And then the other thing I want to show you is that we have these library guides. Oh, I should show this, the chat. Number of ways you can contact us. They're on the brochure that has, the graduate student brochure is contact info. I gave you a postcard so that you could slap it on your fridge. It's got our contact info as well. But you can chat with us. The service is not, it's open typically 9 to 5 during the week in the summer. So if you've got a quick question, you could just click on chat if it's open and ask your question, and we'll send you links. We can do pretty much anything we do over the phone or in face-to-face we can do on chat. Just depends on how you like to work. But it is a nice option for getting help. The library guides, we have guides on a number of subjects, and I'm actually going to work from a guide this morning. And so if you're looking for a guide, what you can do is just put in whatever topic it is you're looking for. I'm going to work from the nursing one. And I'm going to close some windows because we have a lot of windows open. I put in nursing. I'm just going to click on the nursing link in bold, and it's going to bring up the guide. I showed you the Canvas page where I have a lot of links. There is a link to this on the Canvas guide. But this is a place where we have pulled together a number of resources that we think will be useful to you as you do your research. It is an organic entity. We add things to it. We change things. I added some things yesterday as I was prepping for today. It's like, oh, they should have this. And I was looking at something, and I will probably, there's another video I may add tonight, depending on how things go. If there's things you want us to add, shoot me an email and say, hey, Stephanie, you talked about this. Can you add it to the guide, or can you add it to the Canvas page? It's really pretty simple. So I want to show you a couple things as we go through this. The need to know on the front are a lot of the things that I talked about that you could get to from the front page of the library's website. The off-campus remote access is really critical. I can't stress that enough, and I could tell by the looks on y'all's face that that's going to solve a number of problems. You do have borrowing privileges with your Raspberry One card. You do have borrowing privileges at other state universities. You just need to make sure that your ID is valid, and you do need to have a card to do that. Interlibrary loan, if we don't have it, we can get it for you. And then the booking a librarian for research consultations. And remembering that we can do it here in the building, but we can also do it on phone, and we can also do it online. We have a video chat system called Blue Jeans that we'll do. It's a really simple system, but it allows us to share screens with you. So, if you can't get here, it's a good way to go. But I've done sessions over the phone. It's a little slower, just making sure we're both on the same, literally on the same web page. But it's definitely doable. I had somebody, I don't know what program she was in, but she worked in a hospital, and she would call me on her break from the hospital, and she had her laptop up, and we would just work, and then suddenly she'd have to go. So we do that, and we do understand if you're in that kind of situation where something may happen, if you just put a note in or send an email to whoever you made the appointment with to just say, I'm at work, something might happen. Because I had the experience where she had to go, and then she made an appointment with somebody else later, and she got on and she left, and they were really upset about it. And I said, oh, she works at a hospital, and she does, I want to say she worked in an emergency room, I don't know. But I was like, something big probably happened. She's got rescuing people. Let her be. But just tell us so that we know if we should expect this may not be an hour or what have you. We also have a list of nursing databases. So for your assignment, you're required to look at 3 specific databases, and then you get to pick a 4th of your choosing. So you have to look at CINAHL, you have to look at the Cochrane Library, and you need to look at PubMed. Those are the ones you have to use for your assignment, and we're going to look at those, and then you get to pick a 4th of your choice. And so this is a nice way for you to look and say, well, here's some other things I might choose, what you might try. I would probably encourage you not to use Google Scholar. It is a favorite of a lot of things for you all. I think there are better choices. If you want to use Google Scholar, I would definitely run that by Dr. Self or Dr. McCarthy, just to make sure you're good to go by using that. So we have the list of databases. We're going to come back to that. I want to go over to the PICO page. You guys are all familiar with creating the PICO question. This is all not, is anybody not familiar with developing a PICO? Okay. Yay, because I thought nobody knew how to do this. That just made today easier and gave you 5 more minutes for lunch. So we have this list of PICO, the explanation for what PICO is and what you're looking at. And depending on your questions, you may or may not have a comparison. You may or may not have a time frame around what you're looking at. But what I want to show you on this page is we've got a couple worksheets. So if you're having a hard time kind of coming up with things, there are 3 worksheets here that you could try. The first worksheet is one of the ones that I gave you. It's the double-sided PICO search strategy worksheet. And the third one, the structured searching PICO, is this one. So just so you know what you're looking at, and that's really not helpful to the people online. But we're looking at the first and the third ones. And then there is a video here for sort of turning your search terms into search strategies. So before we get ready to start searching, does anybody have a paper, topic, subject, whatever, that they want us to use as an example? Okay, so somebody tell me where that question has ended up, because I know there's been some conversation. Where are we with that question?
With our topic?
Yeah.
We changed it.
You did?
It sounded like Dr. McCarthy shot it down real quickly. So.
Well, I can tell you I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, and we did that too, and we realized that there really wasn't much.
Okay.
So we changed it completely.
I feel better.
Yeah.
But we can, I mean, if you want to look at it, we can.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a good idea. Dr. Shores, one of our faculty members, said it was a good idea. So, but unfortunately, there's not enough research.
Yeah, I couldn't find any research. I was a little nervous, and I thought, well, this is one where we'll have to figure out a couple things to point out with this. So, SAGA, how did SUG?
It's just
Just one G and two M's, right? ADDS.
So the original question had to do with this drug and oral contraception. So, which I also can't spell. Really, wow. So we'll use this as an example to talk through where you'd go when you're searching. So, and I don't like to teach to an assignment, but your assignment really is going to be helpful all the way through this program, because you're going to do a number of lit reviews, and it really is helpful to think through what are you searching. I tend to be, this is embarrassing to confess, I'm a librarian, my background is in math. I tend to be this really sort of, my search process is not always the most organized thing it could be. And so I'll do a search and come up with something great, and because I didn't make a note of it, I have a hard time going back to finding that really good search. And so by making notes of what's working for you, this is really going to help your process. As a librarian, I think sometimes we do a lot of things and we just do them because we know them. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I know how to search. But sometimes, especially, and I find this especially when I'm helping students from College of Health, the language that you all use is so foreign to me that I really need to make good notes. So if I'm doing a consultation with you, I typically have a lot of really good notes because the language is different. So one of the things we're looking at with this, when you were looking at this topic, was, for me, these are the two primary aspects of what you were looking at. You would add a little more detail for the PICO, but these were really what we were looking for. But a couple things that are really important to know is there, so I only knew to use this word. This is the only word I knew. I learned a little bit about it by searching for it, but what was interesting to me was you immediately gave me an alternative term for it. And the alternative term was?
Bridion. B-R-I-D-I-O-N.
And these are things you guys just know because you're smart. So Bridion is another term, and so as you're working through, one of the reasons I actually really liked the structured searching PICO form was that it gave you that place to put in the different aspects of your, and I'll pull it up. I think I can pull it up. Yeah. So this form gives you a nice way to add in the different aspects. So your patient, your intervention, your comparison, your outcome, you could add the time frame if you needed to. But gave you places to put those in and then go through and think about what are the synonyms that work for that term, which is going to be really helpful as you figure out, this is what I call it, but when I'm searching in a database, they're using a different word. They're using Bridion. They're never using, so maybe that was the problem. Maybe if we searched Bridion, we'd actually find something. So knowing what the terminologies are and what you can use. Some of the things that we'll look at as we get into searching the databases is that some of these terms the system will automatically do for you. So if you're looking at, if your patient is women over the age of 50, the system may automatically do that for you. It may automatically have a filter for you so that you don't even have to put that in as a search term. You could use the filter to make that happen. And so we're going to look at some of those kind of things. So if you're looking at a specific gender, if you're looking at a specific age group, there are filters in a lot of the databases that automatically do that for you. So you don't have to figure out, well, am I using women? Am I using female? Am I using, what is the right word for that? Sometimes the system will automatically do that for you. Then coming up with what your mesh terms are. And I've included in the Canvas page, I've included a couple links to I've included an explanation of what mesh is. Are y'all familiar with mesh? Okay, so mesh is the medical subject headings. And the medical subject headings can be really, really important to you. Back in the day, back when I went to the library school 30 years ago, mesh subject headings were critical because we didn't have a system that automatically did what our computerized systems do now. And so the subject headings said, this is the word that this database is always going to use to describe contraception. So maybe they're not using contraception, they're actually using birth control. I can't imagine that would be the way it would go, but but it's going to tell you what's the term we typically use to describe whatever that, whether it's a medical like a symptom or it's a outcome, it's going to have a specific vocabulary that the system's going to use. Some of that's done automatically now in the databases. I'm going to be one of those people. You guys have it easy. You guys have it really easy. But it is important to look at the mesh subject headings. And a number of the projects that you're working on, you're going to be asked, what are the mesh subject headings for your term? That's going to come up at some point in the next umpteen classes that you take. Somebody's going to say, what are the mesh subject headings? And we're going to look at some of those. But they will help, and you'll see in this, it tells you to explode. The explosion of a mesh subject takes you from your word to all the words that relate to it. And so if you think about mesh as a tree, your word is the stem of the tree, and when you explode it, all the branches come out. And so we're going to look at a little bit about that. But exploding your mesh subject heading, sometimes it kind of freaks you out. When I do it, I always am like, this is way more information than I can deal with. And then I talk to whoever I'm helping, and it makes perfect sense to them. So it's going to make, it sounds a little strange right now. It's going to make sense when you look at it. It will offer you some alternative ideas that you may not have come up with. That's one of the things I love about looking at subject headings, looking at a thesaurus, is that it's giving me other words. And really, the mesh terms it's a medical thesaurus. So if you ever use the regular thesaurus to look up an alternative, a synonym for something, this is simply the medical thesaurus. Yes, ma'am?
Can you explain back ahead truncation and is it wildcards?
Okay, so she's asking to explain truncation and wildcards. It's wildcards. There's actually a typo in there. It is wildcards, and we will talk about that when we get into it. I'm going to ask Stephanie to make a note so that I don't forget to show you that. But truncation and wildcards are ways you can construct your search to broaden out what you're getting. And I'm glad you asked that. Those are one of those things that, again, if you search Google, Google automatically does some of these things for you. When you're in a database, sometimes you have to tell it something special to make it do truncation or make it use a wildcard. So we'll talk about those. And then I mentioned things like limiting. And so what you may find is that the limits that you're using they may be geographical, they may be language. You may end up in a database and discover that 50% of the articles that are coming back are in another language. Anybody read another language besides English? A couple of you do. Usually there's a couple people who do. I don't. I only read English. So for me, I would limit to English which may in turn really limit the articles that I'm seeing. If I read another language, I could include those to my count, but I may be finding that. You may be finding that you're limiting by publication type, depending on what your review is. So for this class, you're looking for something specific. For one of your other classes, you may have a different need. So publication type, publication year. Some of your professors may say, if it's more than 5 years old, don't consider it. That's a pretty standard thing, and it's really important in the medical field. I don't necessarily want the person who's cutting me open to be using something from 50 years ago. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, sometimes that might be good. So think about what your limiters are going to be, and I'm going to show you in different places where to look for the limiters and the kinds of things that you'll see. At the bottom down here, it talks about ways you can combine searches and how things work. And again, most part the system's going to do this, but I do want to explain how it works. So we refer to these Boolean operators. It's how terms get confirmed. A couple of you get combined. A couple of you are nodding your heads. You've heard that term before. So OR combines relative terms. So OR, in my head, OR is more. OR is always going to get you a bigger set. And OR should always be used with synonyms. So I would OR together anything in aspect 1, because everything listed under aspect 1 is going to be a synonym. So when I combine those searches, I would OR those together. System's going to automatically do that for you in most places. So when we get to searching, you're going to see, wow, it automatically does that. In some of these, it automatically gives you all the synonyms the system works. So those you'll see. The AND lets you combine different aspects. So I want to know about Brydian and contraception. I want both of those things to be in my search when I get it done. So I'm going to say I want Brydian and I want contraception. Aspect 1, aspect 2, I want to combine those together. And should always bring you back a smaller set. If you and things together and you get more, something is really, really wrong with the system. It's not you, it's wrong with the system. So you should always get a smaller set, which is what you're shooting for. If you OR together a bunch of concepts and you have 50,000 hits to go through, you all don't have time for that. But if you OR together some things, you and in your second concept, your second aspect, and you're down to 200 things, and then you out at filter and you're down to 50, that's a manageable set to work with. So you want to make sure you think through those. The limits will definitely narrow. And then one of the things I love about this, which I was going to show you, a lot of things have a save search history option. You can create an account, you can save your search history, you can print your search histories. In some way you want to make sure you're getting a copy of your search history. What did you do? And I frequently find that if I copy, like literally cut and paste from the screen or take a screenshot of what it looks like on the screen, it's better than if I write it down. Because once we get into the searches and we look at them, what you'll see is that what shows up on the screen, it adds a bunch of coding because of how it combined things or what terms it picked. And so I always like to a screenshot, cut and paste it, save the search history, something like that. I don't know that you have to have that for this specific class, but as you move forward, there are actually a couple classes that you'll take. They want those. You have to have somehow a picture of your search history. So those are things. Also say, y'all will probably be back in here to see us again. So you're gonna hear this again and again probably. So I wanted to walk through the search strategy. Again, this page is online. I've given you copies of it. You can email me and say, hey, Stephanie, can you send me another copy of it? I'd be happy to do that. So I'm going to go back to our guide. There are a number of other things here. The last thing on the list is Refworks. How many of you have Refworks accounts? Okay. So before we start searching, I want everyone to have a Refworks account. Those of you who have a Refworks account, do you use it?
Not lately.
It's terrible.
Maybe you just need to tell us how to use it.
Okay, Refworks is like the magic of the world. Stephanie is our student. It's like the best thing ever if it works.
Yeah, I was about to say, a lot of my problem is that whenever it does my citation for me, it'll be incorrect.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
And then I end up just going through and fixing them all, and then I'm like, well, I should just.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know about Refworks, Refworks is a bibliographic management program. How many of you love writing APA format citations? Like your favorite thing ever, you are a geek. Most of you don't. Most people, like, we actually have a couple librarians who do. They were English majors. They really like doing that. I was a math major. It's not my favorite thing ever. But Refworks allows you to collect things together. So you're working through and you're finding articles. It allows you to gather them in one place. And because it's cloud-based, it's wherever you are. So it's not, oh, this is on my laptop, but I'm meeting with my group and my laptop's at home and I can't like show them what I've done. It allows you to gather them. You can actually save the articles into the system sometimes. So you can just drag the article in, save the article in the system. The best part is it does this magic thing where it actually creates your bibliography for you. So if you're writing a paper and you have to do in-text citations, it will actually create the in-text citation for you and create your bibliography for you. For me, that's the magic because I don't want to do that. I do a lot of work with our engineering students and they use a system that's a numbered system. So every time they add a citation, it has to be renumbered, which is a nightmare, but this system automatically does that for them. So if you're using, depending on what system you're using, and it will automatically switch. So for this class, I know you're using APA. In some classes, you're going to use AMA. And you can actually create an APA bibliography, and then if the system's working, minutes later, create an AMA bibliography to be right next to it, without having to retype it, without having to rekey it, and it should do all of that. Any questions? So we are all going to create a Refworks account. So nobody's leaving here without a Refworks account. You may never use it again. I would hate for you to do that. So there's a couple places you can get to Refworks. From the nursing guide, the link here for Refworks will take you there. I'm going to show you a couple other places. So from the library's homepage, under My Accounts, remember I said all the good stuff was under My Accounts? Refworks is also there, so you have a couple options. Oh, and I'm logged in. So when you get to Refworks, and I can't log myself out because I have no idea what my password is. That is embarrassing to say to you guys out loud. So when you click on Refworks, if you don't have an account, it should give you a choice. There's probably an orange option or a blue option. You want to use the blue option if you're given a choice there. And then you should have an option to create.
There's no institution for you and
You want to create an account. Did you click on create?
I already have an account, but I can't find my password, and I said forgot password, and it said error. And I tried looking for institution, and there's no.
Yeah, you won't show up on that first page under show your, because that's a different login process.
Yeah.
So when you do forgot your password.
It says here. I'll put in.
Okay. And your email, the other thing, as you create an account, it needs to be attached to your Osprey account. So you have to use your UNF email address. Okay. Okay. And this is going to take a little bit. So for those of you who are already done, it'll send an authentication to your email. So you'll have to log into your email. I'm just going to move your lunch.
So I already have an I think we all created one at once upon a time.
Okay. Then just have it open and we're going to work from there.
Oh, but I know I'm kind of jumping ahead. But how come I tried to import, like I found some articles that I like. So where I have to make this open. Let's see. Here, and then send me to
Export to Refworks.
and then I can save, and then I go here. Oh, saving new data. The other one said oops. Oh, good.
Sometimes it does that. No, that's a when we get in, that'll probably happen to me.
Okay.
If it happens, just try it again.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you creating a new account?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to get you to back up because there's a new and there's an old, and you went into the legacy, and I want you to be in the new one. I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to get to the back of the room so I could see if there were any orange screens. So click on the Refworks. Yeah.
Is this it?
This is where we want to be. Yeah. Yes. Yep, that's the current version. Yep. If your Refworks is blue, you're in the current version. If it's got the oranges, it's the older version, and it's not nearly as nice. And if you already did you have an account? Or are you creating one? If you have an old account, we can actually migrate that.
Maybe it's, if I'm in the new one, it won't recognize mine. Is that, I thought I had an account. I don't know, does it matter? I just signed
You
up.
can create a new one. Yeah, you can create. If you're not using it, yeah, if you're not using it, you can create a new one. Yeah. But you do want to have the new account with the blue. Yeah.
Which API should they be using? Because there's some annotated with the abstract.
Yeah, and we'll look at them.
Okay, that actually looks pretty good. That's better than what's been.
Okay, so it looks like a lot of you are catching up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open Refworks, and we're just going to let it sit. So this is kind of my follow-up. When we started, what was the first thing I told you to do when you go to do your library research from home?
Call you.
Call me. That is an option. You're going to do the remote login. What I would recommend that you do as your second step is that you log into your Refworks account. So you you do remote login, you log into your Refworks account, and you just leave your Refworks account sitting there, and then you go and do you work on your research. That way you're connected to the two systems that you want to work with. You don't have to, in the middle, be like, oh, I didn't log into this, I need to log in again. Shouldn't. It shouldn't. Yes, sir. It does not. No, this is in the cloud, so you can get to it from anywhere. I want to say it doesn't work well on a tablet. I feel like I did a class one day and somebody had problems on a tablet, but it works anywhere.
Because I think I did this once and it asked me to download the extension for my Microsoft Word.
That's a second step.
Okay, and then it got all screwy.
Okay, so that's a great question. So we've had a couple really good questions. The gentleman in the back's question was, I downloaded an extension and it got all screwy. I know exactly what you're talking about. So we're going to look at that. There are a couple add-on tools that we can do, and when we get back, so we're going to open it, leave it, we're going to let it run, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the add-on tools, because the add-on tools are what you want to work, because that's the super magic part of it. That's the thing that makes life grand. Because y'all don't have time to spend hours creating citations and bibliographies and all that stuff. So we want that part to work. So we'll talk through that. And then we had somebody in the back who had an experience. She's used it before. She went to load things and it said, oops, nothing happened. The oops, nothing happened. Typically, if you go back and try to download again, it magically works. And for her, that's what happened. So she had a little oops thing, and then it worked. I will probably experience that, so the entire room will get to see oops happen. But we're going to look at both of those. So my Refworks is open. I use it all the time. You can see I was playing with some stuff yesterday. Somebody's doing something with obstructive sleep apnea. I have actually been paying attention to y'all's questions. These are things I have downloaded and I have added to my list. I'm going to mark a couple of them and just show you what the magic looks like when it works well. I picked 3 things and I now have a bibliography. In that amount of time, I have a bibliography that I can cut and paste into my paper. Anybody feel like that was worth it? You look so happy. As long as it's correct. And this is a really good point. She says, as long as it is correct. These are computer-generated citations. There are a lot of ways that systems will create citations for you. The computer is only as good as the data that it is given. And so as long as they are correct is a really good statement, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So if you look at what's on my screen, what do you notice about it that might be problematic? So some of you are worried about the hyperlink. Anything else that looks problematic?
Well, that's right, because there's two 2018.
Oh, I see.
The DOI number.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have the DOI
Doesn't
label.
have the-
Okay, so one of them doesn't have a DOI.
Or page number.
And doesn't the DOI number need to be,
You guys know your citations.
like it's not, it's in the incorrect way that
It's not up there in the right way. So there's a number of things that are incorrect. One of them, which is really funny because y'all noticed something but you didn't get the second part. These two are actually the same article. The system will deduplicate for you. So I have not deduplicated my account because that's just a step I'm not ready to take. It will deduplicate for you. That is something we could help you with. So you're working away. You guys are smart enough you could figure it out, but if you don't want to figure it out, you just want help with it, schedule a consultation. We could do it over the phone probably, and just say, I'm working on this. I need to figure out how to deduplicate. Because as you work, you're going to pull articles from different places. These came from two different places. And I realized after I'd done it, you just downloaded the same article, goofy. But it helps with examples. But the system will deduplicate for you, and that's just a process you could run before you did your citations. So it's not smart enough to know it's got two of the same thing. It just did what I told it, which was I picked the first three things and it put them in. What you'll see, though, is that these two, which are the same article, have different formatted citations. They came from different places, so they came with different data. So the information gets loaded into a record. You can clean all of that up, and we'll look at how to clean it up when we start loading records. You're completely correct about the DOI being in different formats. Did you guys all buy the APA citation manual? Yeah. So knowing what they're supposed to look like is really important. This will get it all in the right place, and then you need to make sure it's correct because it puts in the format what's in the right field. So it's loading from the fields it has, and you're going to need to correct that. You can correct within the record so that next time you generate it, it generates correctly. So you could put this in your paper and manually correct it and have to do that every time you generate a bibliography, or you can correct it in the record. I would correct in the record, so I only have to do it once. There are questions. So there was a question, I think somebody was mentioning this URL. This is a crazy long URL. And it is the correct URL. That URL would get you back to the article, and that's one of the things you're trying to do with the citation is get back to the article. It is so long because that DAX part at the beginning is the piece that authenticates you into the system if you're not here on campus. So sometimes people take that out, and you can, so you could eliminate all of this piece and just have the search EBSCO. May or may not work once your professor tries to click on it. So I try to include the whole thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, we've kind of gotten in trouble before, or I specifically have gotten in trouble before for including citations that were from the library specifically. So how do you get around that?
So you can edit it.
DAX fixes that?
Mm-hmm. So when you say, what was you got in trouble for using things from the library,
So my link linked to something that was in the library database. So my professor's comment was that that's not appropriate because of somebody who did not have university access would not be able to access.
Okay, and that's going to be a professor's preference. So that would be something I would ask about. And that's exactly why I mentioned it, because that link takes you into our collection. so the link that we have takes you here. You all would be able to go out and pull the full text of this. Somebody who was not a University of North Florida student would be able to see this record, I think. Pretty sure they'd see this record. They probably wouldn't be able to pull up the full text. And that would be a case of you'd want to find out what your professor's preference was. Some of them want you to include it, some of them don't. And that's a preference piece. So I would definitely check. I would ask a question on your discussion board to find out what they want. But it does, and that's why I mentioned it. It varies from professor to professor in same programs. It's crazy.
Because it just creates a situation where you find the article from the UNF library search, you download the full text. The full text link actually has UNF library in it. So then you have to go elsewhere and try to find a link that's an outside source. Do you understand? Or at least that, and I may be doing it incorrectly, or there may be an easier way, but.
That may be what they told you to do. A librarian could help you find the link. So as a simple solution to that is, if you were told you can't use this, but you need a link to the article, contact the library. Get one of us to help you do that. That is not, in my mind, that is not what you should be spending your time on. Because we could link you to places, but the other piece is that not everything is going to be available freely online for anybody to access. That's why you authenticate into the system, is that libraries pay subscription fees to make these available to you. They are not going to all be freely available. So what we might end up doing is simply providing a link to the Journal of Information Systems, where you could see the journal but maybe not get the actual article. So we would need to find out what the professor actually wanted you to include, and we could negotiate that.
So as far as what's correct for APA, it doesn't address.
It doesn't address personal preference of professors.
Okay. Because I think, and by two separate professors we've been told, correct APA is that you would link back to the journal's main website page, not to any library, and we were told that that was APA's rule.
Can you make a note and we'll look it up? I'll see what we can find out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what we can find out. But yeah, the links are definitely an issue. The ideal is if you've got the DOI to use the DOI. That solves so many problems if you've got a DOI, but not everything has. So if we can find that, we will figure that one out for you though.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just created the bibliography. We are ahead of ourselves, but I wanted you to have that Refworks account. We're going to go back out into the Nursing LibGuide again, and we're going to actually do some searching. So we've talked about a lot of stuff, and we haven't even looked at a database to find articles yet. Any questions about what we've covered so far? Because we've talked about a lot of stuff. Not yet. Okay. So I'm going to go into the nursing guide. I'm going to click on the nursing databases, and I want to start with PubMed. So, and the reason I'm going to do that, it's 50-50. You guys have to use PubMed, you have to use CINAHL, and you have to use Cochrane. They all search, conceptually, searching is done in the same way. The actual search engine boxes are in different places, the buttons are in different places, but the concepts are all the same. So we're going to start in PubMed unless anybody has has done something and they want to start there first. Okay. So I'm going to go to PubMed. You're at home. You've all done the remote login. Has anybody searched this before? Okay, a couple of you have actually searched PubMed before. PubMed is produced by the National Library of Medicine. It is available in a number of formats. So a number of different vendors make this data available with a different search engine attached to the front of it. So we're using the National Institute of Health's PubMed search. what I'm going to tell you is we start here, your search is at the top of the screen, and you have a single search box. I would encourage you to automatically just switch to the advanced search. Everybody see that search? I would automatically switch to an advanced search. And I typically do this with everything I search. I just automatically, I want all the bells and whistles when I search. I just want to start there. It just allows you to see what do you have access to, what can you do. And so now, as we look at this screen, a couple things we want to point out. So the screen looks a little different. You can obviously tell that you can combine things together. It has this builder. And so you see this would be aspect 1, and you notice it says and, which means I would put my aspect 2 in that box. So just so you can kind of see how it's just setting things up for you. You'll also notice there's a history. So those are words that I'm looking for, is where's my history? How do I get that history to come up so that I can go back and look at this? Does anybody have a search they want me to try? Or you want me to try the Brittian one? Okay, and I'm going to use Brittian because that's easier for me to spell. D-I-O-N? Theoretically. And I'm just going to search for Brittian. I'm just going to put that in. And it's looking for it. It found 870 results. Because search engines are smart, it asked if I wanted a different word, but I think we're in the right place. And it came up with 870. It sorted them by best match. These are anything related to Brittian. So it's not our contraception issue, it's everything that's out there about Brittian. So this is way more than we know we want. But I wanted you to see kind of what comes up. You can sort in different formats. You can change a lot of things. You'll notice on the left-hand side, though, this is where your filters show up on this database. And you have different article types. So if you're in a class where you are told that you need to look for a specific type of article, yes, sir?
So within this example, how would I search for the highest level of only like meta-analysis or RCTs?
Okay, so he's asking, I want only meta-analyses or RCT? Okay, so the meta-analysis and RCT, if it's a term that they're using for article type, this is the filter you'd want to use. And what's interesting here is for article type, what's actually selected is clinical trials. So I'm going to take that off because I don't think that's what you want. And I'm going to go through and see if meta-analysis, ooh, looky there. So I'm going to choose meta-analysis. And then I'm going to ask you what RCT is. Randomized control trial. It is also here. So if you're looking for some specific types of things, I'm going to add that filter in. When I do show, and did it rerun my search? It did not rerun my search. Why did it not rerun my search? Sometimes I love the database. Okay, why did it not?
Oh, hit review, and then it reruns it.
Thank you. And it's one of the, this is one of those things where, and I'll go back and pull it up on the screen. Everything is in a different place on every screen, so it's that looking and finding the right word. So we changed it to meta-analysis, randomized control trial, and then we clicked on the review. But this, I think that brought us.
Went from 870 to 134.
But are we getting just review? No, okay, we want it. Okay, just want to make sure. So we went down to 134 because we limited to those two specific types of articles that you wanted. Then looking at some of the other filters, if you only want full text, you don't want to limit to full text. I'm going to tell you this right now. For your research, you're going to want to know everything that's out there. Whether I can get it in full text or not for free from the library, I need to be looking at everything. When you were an undergrad, you did full text because then you could have immediate instant gratification. but you are no longer undergraduates, you have to look at everything. So I wouldn't use those. Yes, ma'am?
How would you get review? I don't have that option.
Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to customize my article types again. I'm just going to pick something different. So I just picked something. But no, that ad, I don't.
I don't think the review was what we wanted. Oh, actually, at the bottom of customize, if you hit show.
So I hit show, and then, but it didn't change them. But when I clicked, so I picked comment, and then when I clicked on review.
So my review wasn't checked on that list, and now it is. So I have that on my option. I don't think review was actually right. If you go back to customize and hit show again, it goes from 870 to 760.
Okay, let me clear them.
I think you have to uncheck.
Okay, I'm going to clear them. I'm going to clear review. I'm going to clear scientific. I'm going to go back to what the gentleman in the back wanted, which was randomized control towers and meta-analysis. I'm going to say show, and then I'm going to click search again. I think when I did search again, that's when it did it. Nope. It check marks it, but it doesn't change our search results. Don't you like it when the librarian can't make it work? Does it make you feel better? That's how it always is for me. Like, I feel better if somebody else can't make it work. I don't? Okay, I'm going to clear them all. We're showing those. It should have updated our... No, go back. Because if I click 5 year, I got it. You choose them and then you click it. Like I knew I'd done this before. So if you choose your article types, so you pick the ones you want to show up, and then when it shows up in the list, then you click on that, then it gets us down. So I'm going to repeat that. So I'm going to customize it. I'm going to pick my 2 things that I want, so the randomized control, and then you click on the 2 so that you see them. Does that make sense? Did that work for you in the back? Okay.
How do you save your results?
Save your search? Okay, we'll get back to that. So if you're looking for a specific publication years, you would click on that. That's how I knew I could do this, because I've done this part before. So if you wanted only the last 5 years, so we went from 840 to 105, we only want the last 5 years, we're down to 58. So you can see every filter you add, every additional aspect you add brings you down in terms of what you're looking at. Again, species, so if you're looking at humans or others. I want to show the additional filters because for some of you, the additional filters may be helpful. So if you're only looking at men or women within your population, sex may be helpful. Ages may be helpful. I'm going to add in subjects. I'm going to click show. So then I pull up some other filters. So if I was only interested in women for this, and then if I was looking at a specific age range. So for some of you, you may be looking at a specific age range for your topic, the age groups. And again, it brings up some general, but if you customize it, you can see you've got a lot of other options that you can choose from. So we went from 840 to 47 just by a couple clicks of the button. And if I go back to my search, so if I go back to the advanced search, because I just have a bunch of stuff here, I want to go back and see what I've done. I now have my search history. And you can see every time we did something, it shows what happened. And this is really helpful. I find this helpful to be like, okay, I did something that really blew it up and didn't work. So that was when I went to 10 and that didn't work. I didn't want that one, so I could eliminate it. So as you're doing your searches, this would be where you would, what you would copy in for your search history as you went through, once you identified the piece that you wanted to use.
And so then you could add it to the builder?
You could add it to the builder. So if one of these was something that worked, so I want to add the Boolean meta-analysis, randomized control. I don't want the published in the last 5 years. I just want this. I can add it to the builder. And you'll see when you add it to the builder, it actually shows sort of how it constructed that search. And you can see where it has Boolean and my two filters, which it OR'd together because I didn't care. So it was either one of those worked for me. And then it narrows it down. And then we could add in another field. So we could add in contraception here.
So it's automatically saving. So next time I log in, I can go to advanced. Okay.
Great question. So her question was, it's automatically saving here. We're still logged in. We haven't left this system. Everything's still cool. I added in contraception and I got 0. This is where I started to get a little nervous for y'all. Yesterday when I did this, and I did a search and I got 0 in another database, and then I got really nervous about what we were going to find. So I would go back to my advanced search and realize that this doesn't work. If I log out of this, my search history is gone. So this is when you log out of a system, if you haven't intentionally saved this somewhere, it is gone. Some of the systems have a way for you to create an account. So you'll see here there's a sign in to NCBI, and you could create an account. And then you can probably save this. I have never created an account within this system. And this is a personal preference, and this is a choice you all will make. Most of the systems we have allow you to create an account within that system. You can save your searches. You can create a search history. You need to make sure if you're doing that you're tracking what the system is and tracking all of your usernames and your passwords so that you can get back to them. That's truly the only reason I don't create those accounts, is that there are too many of them for me to retain. So I don't. This will let you, it will let you save your search history as you go. It will also let you create a search alert. You can, though, this is the thing I've done within PubMed, is you can download your history and it actually creates a CSV file. And so I can download my search results. So for me, this is probably the way I would go, just because the whole 50 million accounts makes me a little worried.
Can you go back so I can see where the download was?
Yep. No. If you want me to show things, make me do them more than once. So I've got my history and I've got the download history. If I log out of this, so if I go from here to another system, there is no guarantee this will be here when you come back. If you are working on a library machine, when you leave and the system restarts itself, everything you have done is gone. So we have software built in that clears everything. If you save to your desktop on a library computer, when you come back, it will be gone. Which is, I've logged into my Google account so that I can do some things because I can't make any changes to this machine. So you can download your search history. If we do, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring back up one of our sets so that we can see. What I want to show you is at the top you've got a create alert. So if you've got an account, and this is a feature you'll see in various other systems, and again you'll need an account, but the create alert, so once you guys come up with a topic, you're going to use it for a while, right? Till the end of your program. You're going to be living with this. So create alert allows you to set up a notice so that if something new is published that comes up with these search results, so you create the perfect search, you're getting things, you can come back and rerun your search. Is there any other additional literature? Or you can create an alert that sends you a notification when new literature has been published that meets those criteria. So if you're going to be living with this for the next year or so, creating alerts may be something you want to do. Again, it's really an advanced thing, probably not something you're going to do this week, but it's going to be one of those, you make an appointment with the librarian and say, I had an instruction and she said there was a way we could get reminders about this. And we'll help you figure it out. Because the alerts are different for each of the systems, but I want you to know that it is something that you can set up. A lot of faculty do alerts. You know, they're doing the same research for years, and once they get that perfect search, they just set up alerts. And I completely, you can actually set up an alert for a journal. So if you want to read a journal that we have available full text, you can set up an alert so that when the newest issue of that journal is available, you get an email that says, journal of whatever is available, and then you could just go read it. So there are a lot of different things you can do with the alerts that you get. So we got our results. These do not have that contraception topic attached to it. So I want to be really clear. We just have searched Brilliant. We've picked a couple different types of things. I'm guessing you guys are all searching different topics. You guys are using your words. Okay. And everybody found something with your words? Or something at least to play with? So as you look at the screen, there's a couple things that PubMed does that I like. There's a couple things PubMed does I don't love. It does some things like the best matches. So these are what they think are their best matches, may or not be relevant to you. They give you your search details over here. So again, if you're looking to copy something down, this would be you could repeat the search here. You can see your recent activity, and then you've got your search results here. It tells you what we've searched. As you look at the articles, you'll notice that you've got the title of the article, the citation information, but you've got a link to similar articles. And this is one of those, this is what which starts you down a rabbit trail. So similar articles can be really great. You find what appears to be the perfect article for your topic. Theoretically, anything that's similar should also be kind of perfect. So if this effect of Sugam versus, you guys, do they teach you all these words at some point?
You can go onto YouTube and actually type it in and it tells you how to say it. So last year I did a lot of that. So
See, that's why y'all sound so smart. So if this appeared to you, once you clicked on this article title, you read the abstract, you went out and found the full text of the article, and you thought, this is really perfect for me, those similar articles may also be perfect. So it's a trail that you may go down. So once you click on the article, you'll see the similar articles show up here. You get some review articles as well. You can also see what else you've done. But that similar thing, I always like students to think about the similar and related articles may give you another avenue to look at where you might not have come up with those within your search results. So I just want you to be aware that you can do that. Now, a lot of you have already done research in databases, so some of this is going to be refresher, but this is an article that you're looking for. The abstract isn't enough. You're going to want more than an abstract. You're going to want to read the actual article. You're looking for full text links, something that says the full text is available. Within PubMed, you've got the View Full Text or the Full Text Finder. The Full Text Finder is a connector that we have here at the library that goes out and finds this article somewhere in full text. If we don't have it available in full text, it will have an automatic ILL link for you, an interlibrary loan link for you. So if you follow the Full Text Finder, sometimes we just don't have access to it in full text. There will be a little button that says interlibrary loan. If you click on that, it'll frequently auto-populate your interlibrary loan form for you, so you just have to put in your information and submit the interlibrary loan request. So we'll see if we come up with those. But if I wanted to see the full text, yes ma'am.
Oh, sorry, you can finish with your thought.
Okay.
This is a new thought.
So I clicked on a link to this article. And what's really interesting to me, this is actually a really perfect example, is it looked to me like I was going to come up with full text of this article. I was all excited. And what you see when I clicked on this is
Where you have to pay.
where I have to pay.
We're not paying them.
Good answer. We're not paying them. So we're actually going to go back.
We can't pay them.
You're not going to pay them. So I'm going to go back because that link didn't work. and I'm going to click on the full text finder. Man, I see, and you saw, I assumed that was going to work. So we fall for it too. What the system does then is I clicked on the full text finder, it went out and said, here's the article in a different database. So it wasn't available full text in PubMed, that other link didn't work, it wasn't available. It goes to a different database. It's actually an academic search complete, but here's my full text.
All right, how did you do that again?
So, yeah, go back to saying that.
So I'm in my search,
Oh, okay.
and I have 2 full text links up here. So we tried the first one. The first one, fancy, got a logo, it's going to work. I completely fell for it's going to work. Didn't work. It said it wanted money from us, and you all said, I'm not paying. So then we came back to this page, and we clicked on the full text finder. And the full text finder goes out and looks at all of the UNF holdings, so everything that we subscribe to that it can actually connect to make a match on the article that we had.
So that's what EBSCOhost is UNF's.
EBSCOhost is actually a large vendor that we subscribe to things from. So like PubMed is provided by the National Institute of Health, EBSCOhost provides access to other databases.
And so once we do the, what you said to do at first, once we log in, remote log in, EBSCOhost will not keep on logging us out and make us keep on.
It should not.
Okay.
If you've done the remote login when you start, so the question was, is it going to log me out? Is something going to happen when I go to this database? That's the problem. If you've not done the remote login, so when you've done the remote login, it says UNF student, keep moving, and when you get here, you should continue to keep moving. It should let you go. So we get here, and I now have the PDF of the full text. So a couple different things here. So I now have the PDF of my article, and I can use this article to my heart's content. I want to save it for future research. I want to do some other stuff with it. There's a couple things I want to point out here. How many of you, if you wanted to share this with somebody, would copy the URL at the top of the screen right here? Okay, you say yes. Bunch of you are yes, yes, yes. You are saying no. Why are you the lone? Okay, you would do the PDF and email the PDF. Anybody else? No, and you would do something else? Okay, when you email me that URL from the top of the screen, Stephanie's saying no. She works here, she knows. The URL at the top of the screen is not going to work. And then you're going to be really frustrated because you're going to be like, but it was the perfect article and now it doesn't work anymore. This is an article this is a link that works within the system. If you want to share the link with somebody, downloading the PDF works. There is a link over here that says permalink. Look for the permalink. Permalink is the magic library word for this URL will work for another UNF person. And the key is it will work for another UNF person. So if they're logged into the system, they'll be able to get into, so you send it to your person on your team, you're in your group, and they say it didn't work, then you can, did you do the remote login she told us to do? And it should work for them. But you want to use the permalink when you're sharing URLs. Yes, sir?
Is that the link that populates in the bibliography?
Typically, yes. So the question is that the link that populates in the bibliography? And typically, the permalink should be what is exported into Refworks. It's a great question. So you've got this article, and it's the perfect article, so you want to save it. And for me, that to me means I want to send it, I want to export it out so that I can save it. And I'm looking at all my little tools over here. So there's all these little tools on the side. I'm always looking at the tools. What are my little buttons going to let me do? And so for here, I can save it to my Google Drive. I can print it. I can email it. I can add it to a folder. I can cite it. But all this site does is come up with a citation. It doesn't send it to Refworks for me. So that's not really what I wanted. I can export it. Export is really the key word here. So I want to export this out to my Refworks account. So cite will get you a single citation. Export or share, those are typically the words. I want to send this out to my Refworks account, and I want to do a direct export to Refworks because this was the perfect article. I'm going to say save. You get the two little windows. You always want the UNF blue one. You don't want the legacy Refworks. At some point, this is going to only have one. We keep asking and it doesn't happen. My import is complete, and I'm going to say OK. And I now have the information about my article. If I click on the title of the article, the information that appears on the side here. And this is where you can edit. So when we made that magic bibliography, when we first looked at Refworks and I said we can edit stuff, this is where you can actually make changes to it. So when I look at this, I see there's a link to the full text finder. So this is the link that's going to link back out for me within the system. So I save this record. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to send me back out to the system to make a match to the article. The tags are the subject headings that have been assigned to this. I can edit those. I can add to those. So if I want to edit, the little pencil at the top allows me to edit. Keep asking questions, because I'm not going home with you. Yes, sir. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I wanted to look at the references that they use in writing this article again, is there a quicker way for me to search these articles?
There may be. I'm going to come back to this question. We're going to put a pin in that because we're going to come back to that. That is a fabulous question. He's wanting to know, is there a way to look at the citations, what this article cites, and easily get those articles? And we're going to come back to that question because that is on my to-do list, and I'm really glad you brought it up. Because it's more effective if you all ask. Yes? I'll come back and we'll do that. So she wants, how do I get from PubMed into this? So I'm going to finish this one, and then we're going to go back and do those two questions. So I'm in Refworks. I've got this. I can edit it. I clicked on the little pencil, and I can go down, and anything that I need to change. Couple things that happen frequently are somebody's name is in all caps, so you'll see that somebody's name's all caps. You can just simply go in and type it over. A lot of times what I see in the sciences and the health material is there's an email address at the end of somebody's name. I could simply go in, maybe this person's name is misspelled. My maiden name is long and I understand complicated last names. They get misspelled all the time. So maybe it was misspelled and we needed to fix it. I could simply go in and change it. I mean, you could literally change somebody's name and make those corrections here, and then I just click save at the top. I've got my abstract. There's the URL. So it does include this is the permalink. It's got the DAX with the login, and then the information. You can add more fields. So if you actually wanted to add additional data, so this didn't have a DOI, the DOI didn't import, but if you found a DOI somewhere else, you could add that in. So you would simply add the DOI, and then you could edit that information. So everything in this can be edited. And then whatever you changed, you would say save, and that information would save for you. And then it would create the perfect format.
Okay, so, and then I stopped using this so long ago because it was annoying. Yeah.
So here's something I'm going to say to you. She said she stopped using it because it was annoying. What I'm hoping is that, because you guys are in this, how much longer do you have in the program?
19 months.
Okay, that's a long time.
Wait, no, don't say it's a long time.
Well, no, but I mean, like, that's a lot. No, I'll rephrase that. That's a lot of classes. That's a lot of papers you have to write. That's a lot of stuff. If we can make this work for you, that's going to save you a lot of time. If this topic is going to go with you for the next 19 months, and everything can get built and saved into Refworks.
I can tell you this class would have been very helpful 1 year ago.
Yes.
Everyone says that no matter what program.
No, yeah, that we hear that all the time. I actually did a class for I think it was a transportation class, and they were like, no, it was a chemistry class, and it was their senior year. Why don't they tell us this before? And I actually told them, bring us in, you can invite us into your club meetings. And I have actually done this class for clubs because they have control over what they do and they just schedule stuff. You could tell your professor, just say to Dr. Self, this would be really helpful if we did it at the beginning. What I would also say is that one of the things, because you may get this again, we do these over, different professors invite us in. What might be helpful is a mini version your first semester, and then now that you really understand what it means, coming back to it, having a refresher kind of thing to come back to. No, but we do.
This is being taped, even allowing this for the cohort ahead of us that are needing it right now. They're in these classes.
Yeah, no, they can do whatever they want with the recording once we're done.
Well, so we need to talk to our professors to allow them access.
Yeah, and Stephanie, can you make a note that we want to ask them about doing that? Yeah, because we can do that.
Because we care about them.
Which is good, which is a good thing. Okay, so we added this record to Refworks, and I'm going to close this because Refworks is just running. I have a whole bunch of things open, so I'm going to close them. And go back to my search, because in the back of the room, the question was, we had a couple questions. So the one question was, how do I get this from PubMed into Refworks? It is not as easy. It is not as easy. And there are a couple different things you can do. So I think I've completely closed Refworks at this point. So at the top, there is a send to option. Does everybody see that? So at the top of your article, there's a send to. And this appears in various places because you can send various types of information. So I'm on a single record. This is the slow road. I can send things one at a time as I find them. I can send it to my citation manager.
And once you do that, it makes you want to log into EndNote.
Oh, is it going to do that here?
That's what it just did for us.
Okay, so I'm going to create a file. And there's no direct connection between PubMed and Refworks. Boo hiss, we all hate that. There are instructions for doing this piece. I always mess this up and have to go look at the instructions. It's going to create a file. It's going to download my citation. It's going to create a file. It should be, yeah, this is horrible. This is horrible. I'm going to open it, and it wants to, Now, what's interesting is on my desk, it didn't send me to EndNote, which is kind of interesting. Can you make a note about that? This is why I asked you to come this morning. This is kind of interesting because on my desk, it actually exported the file and I could import it. There are ways to do that, and if we don't do it now, I will link to the instructions from the Canvas guide because it is doable. The other thing that I have done is from Refworks, there are a couple of add-ons. And the gentleman in the back mentioned that he tried to do the add-on and it didn't work. One of the add-ons is a tool that's called Save to Refworks. And I've actually done the Save to Refworks. I'm logged into my Google account and I've actually got a little button here that says Save to Refworks. You guys don't have this on your machine. This isn't going to work. You could do this at home. But if I do Save to Refworks, this is my favorite thing ever. When it works, so I did Save to Refworks. It looks at what's on my screen, and it can be any screen. So I can be in a journal, I could be on a web page, and it looks at the screen and it says, what of this information, what is this that I'm looking at? What do I need to do to save this as an entry in as a citation? So it opens up the little window on the side, and you see that it's kind of generated all the information we need for this citation. This is my workaround for PubMed. And I'm going to show you how to get the add-on. I'm going to show you, I'm not going to leave you hanging on the add-on. Because there's a couple add-ons that you're going to want. So what it did was it identified it was a journal article. It put in the information. This is very much a place I want to go in and make sure, is this all what I wanted? because is that the right URL that I want? Maybe not, maybe. So I might put in some notes. And I would save it to Refworks. I can view this. I can view it in Refworks. And you'll see that we have two of the same article. I brought it in from different places, which is actually this article, these two, that's exactly why those two were different. One I did from the article, one I did from Save to Refworks. And again, I would, obviously, if this was my real set, I would be doing a whole lot of deduplication at the end. I probably wouldn't do it till I was ready to write my, until it started really bugging me, I would just leave it. But at some point I'm gonna want to dedupe it. But I now have the record for this article and I can go back and find that. So the Save to Refworks. Now, the magic for how to get that Save to Refwork button. I'm logged in, I have an account, my name is here. If I click on the little caret next to me, there is an option for tools. Does everybody see the tools option?
So you start at ProQuest, or are you saying you start at Google? You said Google, didn't you?
It's attached to, to get that, to get the tool for you, I need to be in my Refworks account. So I'm in my Refworks account and I'm going to tools. And under tools, there's a whole bunch of tools I can use. The first one is that save references to the web. This is something you're going to want to install on your machine. I installed it on my Google account because then it goes wherever I go. We don't have administrative privileges on this machine, so the things I'm going to show you are attached to my Google account. You can attach them to other accounts. I'm showing Google because I don't have administrative privileges. Every time we turn off this machine, it wipes it clear. So that's why I'm showing you Google, but you can do other options. So the install save to Refworks, I simply click on this. I take this button and I drag it into my toolbar. Now I'm going to have two of them, which I will delete later. But it is really, really simple. It doesn't work with everything. It has to look at the site and figure out if it's going to work. It doesn't work with everything. I work with a senior design project for the engineering program. They do a lot of web stuff, and a lot of their web stuff just doesn't work. Because of the way the page is created, it just doesn't work. It is worth a try. I have found that it works for PubMed. And I'm guessing that's a real problem for you guys, is that exporting the PubMed. I haven't had it not work with PubMed. Though that Send To in my office does work, so I'm a little curious about that one. So that's the first tool I want to show you, is the Save to Refworks. There are other tools that you can use in here, so I'm going to go back, the little caret tools. There's also a citation tool, and my guess is that this is the tool that you had that didn't work. Was the cite in Refworks? That's my guess. That was what I was guessing. Are you using a Mac or are you using a PC? Okay. So you can do the cite in Refworks as in Microsoft Word or in Google. There are other options for Windows, and there is a Mac version, so depending on what you're using. I am not the person to help you with a Mac, but we do have somebody who uses a Mac who can help with that. So if you're using a Mac, we can get you connected for that. Again, it's a download and install on Microsoft Word that I don't have the ability to do, but I'm going to show you what it looks like in Google Docs. They work exactly the same way. So for the add-on for Google Docs, it's going to walk you through it. For me, you can see it's already installed. So I'm going to go to my Google account. I have this document in Google that we started that I was just making notes on. And I have an add-on. So I'm just in a Google Doc. One of my add-ons is ProQuest Refworks. And I would manage my citations. The add-on in Word is going to be very, very similar to this. Really? really not going to work today? Oh, it's the best part of the day. I trust it. Oh wait, go to, okay, here it is. Go to Refworks, unsafe. Yes, I know you're unsafe. Yes. Can't imagine what Refworks is going to, I mean, I can't actually imagine it, but I don't care. I want you to work. Okay, so now I'm actually writing my paper, and I'm not sure it's going to actually do its thing. But what happens with the add-on, if it's working, is I'm writing my paper. So I'm supposed to include an in-text citation, and so it's actually showing everything I've ever included. So you can see I've done lots of different research. Everything I've ever done is in here. I'm going to just scroll down and pick one of these. I want to cite this article, so I'm going to say cite this. That's the magic. But now you understand the value of this. Let's think of it that way. Now you understand the value of this.
We did an online training where it showed us how to do this, but I never could get it to work.
Yeah, me neither. That's why we need this class.
Well, and the big piece is knowing you can do it, and then when it doesn't work, what are you going to do?
Don't do it.
So how did
Okay, you know you can do it. When it doesn't work, what are you going to do?
call you?
Call the library.
Call the library. Okay, thank you.
But before,
You're going to fail your quiz at the end of the class.
I was just like, this is dumb. I can't do it. I don't have time to mess with it.
Yeah, and don't do that. But also, don't spend hours working on it. Call us for help. Spend your hours like healing people, making them better.
So how did you get that to pop up just by saying text citation? Just by like typing
Well,
text citation?
no. You would actually be writing your paper. So you would be yes. So when I turned on the add-on, and as I started to write, it's like, oh, she wants something, and it pops it up. It'll automatically pop up once you turn it on, and then I want to include something else, and I just say cite this. Yes. Yeah, mm-hmm. So in Word, for me, I'm using Google Docs because I don't have administrative privileges and can't do it for my Word. There is a tool for Word, and you would install it on Word. There's a Refworks tool in, and when we're done with class, we can figure out how to do it.
Is this thing like Write and Cite?
It used to be called Write and Cite.
So now it's for add-on.
We'll look at it. So when class is over, if you want to stick around and see if we can do it, we can do that. Because it is, so I'm demonstrating in Google because that's what I can actually control in this setting. So a couple things I'll point out. So I did citation 1, I did citation 2.
Oh, but it's not an APA.
So it's probably not an APA. And I would need to, this is where I don't do this. So it's doing everything. I would look at my settings. I would change my citation style. Maybe. It's really slow. APA. So my current style is APA. I want to update it. But I could choose something else. So I'm using APA 6th edition. I could look and see.
But it's not doing it in APA. No, look at the in-text citation. Yeah, you do last name, comma, initial. And this is,
Oh, this citation. This is all screwy. The first one. So this first one goes with this. This is an example of garbage in, garbage out. because the data that's in this record is obviously really bad.
So you have to clean up on that
You want to clean up,
to make it mirror into your insight.
yes. And so if I wanted to clean it up so I could click on one, I could edit it and then cite it. So if I,
Then you could put,
Then you could save what you had cleaned up, right?
yes.
Wait, so can you show us an example of how, because this was my problem and I was like,
Let's
this
clean-
is taking
let's
more
clean that
time
out.
than I just cite it myself.
What was it?
let's clean up the bad one.
Okay.
So,
So I can edit it. This edit is editing in this is editing in Google. I would actually want to go back to Refworks and modify the citation. So I'm going to go to all documents.
Because remember when she added it from PubMed, it was just, she just added it. She didn't review it first. So that's why, garbage in, garbage out, she didn't review it. So it's not going to automatically, change it once you want to upload it. You need to review it first.
okay.
Yeah, so I went back to my main Refworks account and I found this high prevalence one and I can see that this is icky. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to edit it and see.
So you just go in and flip the author.
So I'm going to go in and I'm going to flip.
Just manually flip. Okay.
Yep. But once I do it once, period, that's what you want? You are fussy. Is she like this all the time? So I'm going to just fix those two. I'm going to save it. I'm going to see if I can figure out where we were. Oh, I just closed it. Don't you hate when you do that? Where's my drive? Okay. I'm going to open my add-on again. So I just open it. It's going to think about opening up. See how it just opened up when I did it. Maybe. We're going to go down and find it, and I'm going to pray that it works. It was near the top. Okay, Stephanie, why is it not showing at the top? And I'm going to also show you how to not have to look through everything, because that's kind of crazy. So I had two. I think I fixed the second one. We'll see. Yeah. So I fixed it. I saved it. Now every time I use it, it's going to be right. But this is a case of I should have deduped. So I'm looking at all the references. One of the things you can do within Refworks is create folders. So I have a lot of references. So if I'm looking at all my references, it's a ton of stuff. But if I'm working on a paper for a specific project or for a specific class, I have different folders. So you can create folders. So if I was really only working on things for my utility poles paper, then I would only show those, the things that are in that folder, and it would be easier for me to do. What will also happen as we add things into your paper, and you're definitely going to want to check the citations and the formatting and all that stuff because it's not all clear. If I put in another one, you'll see, though I added this second, it knows that it needs to alphabetize them. So it automatically does the it automatically alphabetizes them. I can't speak. You guys may not get out of here early. You have good questions. Any other questions about this? So I wanted you to see, for me, this is like the magic of, this is your huge time saver. Spend your time finding the right material and then use this to save you time. Ask us for help. When you're doing your searches, work on the search. I don't want you to immediately call us for help, but I do want you to know that when you're not finding what you want, we're here to support you and that that's what you should be doing. So I'm going to go back out to our search. So we looked at Refworks. We looked at PubMed. We found some things. I'm going to close the sidebar. But you also have to search in other databases. So we've spent a lot of time looking at this. I want to show, so PubMed does one, CINAHL plus full text. CINAHL is an EBSCO database, so it's just a different vendor. The kinds of things we're going to find are going to be really, really similar. The things we can do in terms of searching are similar. Yes, sir?
That was my next question. What do you define CINAHL is adequate for finding meta-analyses and
Let's look.
RCT?
Okay, so the question is CINAHL, Medline, are they adequate for finding meta-analyses and RCTs? It's going to vary, and so there is overlap within the databases. There's always overlap within the databases because they're all covering health topics, so they're not, and they're pulling from the same sets of journals. There's overlap within the journals. There's also some unique content in the different databases. Cochrane probably has the most unique content. And then the other thing you'll find is that you have a preference for which search tool you like. So we started with PubMed. We are now in CINAHL plus with full text. It is an EBSCO product. It makes everything really easy. But you'll see it automatically dumps you into the advanced search. There's a basic, look, there's our search history button. But we can do, I can do the same search. You'll notice within here, as I type, it's filling in the boxes, so it's helping me with my spelling and giving me options. So I'm going to add Brydian, and then I'm also going to do contraception. But you'll see here within EBSCO, when I start typing contraception, it's giving me, it's offering me some options. So what do I want? So here, in your world of coming up with synonyms and did I come up with right terms, it's actually saying contraception or birth control. It's automatically giving me the or, it's telling me how I want to combine them. It makes life so much easier. You'll also see, one of the things I didn't point out in PubMed, but you can do this in PubMed, is you can select where you want to, what fields you want to search in. If you don't select a field, it's searching everywhere, which is your broadest search. But if you knew Brydian was a subject heading or an exact mesh subject heading, you could actually say, I want to use subject heading, I want to use something. We don't know yet what it is, so I'm going to leave it as a field search. You'll also see, so we started in advance, all of my search options are down here. So I want to search everywhere. I want to find all of my terms. Do I want full text? Do I want things that are only peer-reviewed? If your professor says only peer-reviewed, there's the button to push for that. Not all databases have it, but most of them do. Am I looking at specific publication dates? If it's a clinical query, what kind of, you can see the different kinds of clinical queries you have. Do I want randomized control trials? Is that something I'm looking? Am I looking at a specific geographic subset? So if you are only looking at, sometimes what I find is I do a search and I get these things that have happened in another country and that's not what the student's looking for. Maybe I need to limit my geographic subset. Again, you see we've got the male-female option. We've got the age group options. Are you looking for specific images? Sometimes that's what you want. Remember, every filter you add narrows down what you're going to get, though. Publications, I want the references to be available, and this is going to come back to the question you asked a while ago, but I still got it in my head. I want human subjects. I want the first author to be a nurse, or I want any of the authors to be a nurse. That's going to really limit what you find, but if you're curious to see what are nurses writing, that's a way to do this. This is the only database I know that actually has that limiter. And then you get into the publication type. And I'm going to see, we have meta-analysis here as well. So we can limit there as well. We have special interests. So again, I just wanted you to, all the filters we've got, I don't think I picked many. I don't think I picked any. Oh, and I got the big red, no results were found. This is where I started my search using the real word, the sugar whatever. Sugar something. And I got nothing. So CINAHL didn't like this as a topic, and I came up with nothing. I am going to I'm going to clear everything out and do a search so that we actually come up with something. There was the, what was the other topic somebody gave me? It's got really loud. Anybody have a different topic? You're going to spell that.
G-A-B-A-P, right?
There it is. See, I love CINAHL for this. And for pain control, you said? Okay. Pain control, great term. I'm glad you brought. So we've got pain control, we've got pain management. Notice that pain management or pain relief or pain control or pain something else, pain reduction. So if you're trying to figure out what words, now in my mind, those are possibly different topics, but if you wanted them all, it will actually do all 4 of those at once for you. I'm going to go ahead and just search for this and hope we get something. Okay, we got 40. Oh, and I had selected meta-analysis, so I did choose meta-analysis. So we're only finding things that meta-analysis for those, which is probably what's limiting the number of things we got back. As you look at these, you'll see it identifies what kind of journal it's in. It's telling you our publication. We're only going back to 2009 for these. My guess is that's when this drug probably came out. And as you look at these, we've got 40 things. You've got a couple things. You've got the little marble with the full text finder. This is the same full text finder we saw in PubMed. So it's going to do exactly the same thing. It's going to go out and say, not full text here, but can we get full text from someplace else? The next one down actually has the full text attached to it. So if we clicked on that, we'd actually see the full text. You're seeing the images. Those are there. So just scrolling through, you can kind of get a sense of what's here. I'm looking for something specific, and it's, of course, not showing up. So I'm going to say we did this search. We found some stuff. Some of these are really what I want. And I'm just going to stick them. I'm going to add them to my folder. So I'm just going to click on this little guy. Go back to my results list. And click on the little folder. Wow. It's not moving with me. And I'm going to add them to my folder. So the little guy lets me add them to a folder. Now again, this is a temporary folder. I'm not logged into an account here. If I leave, if I log out if I go away for a while, my folder may disappear. So I have to remember that I've done this. This is something I personally do all the time. I stick things in a folder. Somebody comes in my office. I go off and do something. I come back. The system has timed me out, and I've lost everything I've done. Don't be Stephanie. Because it's really frustrating, and for you all, it would be even more frustrating. So I'm going to just put a couple things in my folder. And now what happens is they show up over here. I can look at my folder view. So I'm only having to look at the ones that looked specifically interesting. Typically, that's not the first 4. Typically for you, you're going to have to go, you're going to do a little more work than I just did. But I wanted you to see the kinds of stuff we can do with these 4 things. I can print them, I can email them, I can save them, I can export them. There's that magic export thing if I wanted to save them into a file. When I look at them individually, you'll notice that I've got all the information about the article. If I go to full text finder, because I really want to read the article, all about reading the article. This always makes me nervous. It got really quiet. I know. I'm always afraid to do it. Now it doesn't want to do it. There we go. So it's saying, yeah, I'm happy with that. It's fine. I don't care. It's not my computer. So it dumped us into this. And I'm going to go back over here because I would open to, what am I looking for? So I'm looking for something in medicine, April 14, 2017, 9615, because I can't remember what it did. because it didn't make an exact match, so I'm a little concerned that I'm not really going to find it. And it looks like we don't actually have April of 2017 for some reason. It didn't come up. I don't know why. That is weird. So if I wanted this, because it didn't make that match, I would do an interlibrary loan request for this. So I would just go open up my interlibrary loan. You do need an account. You have to create an account for interlibrary loan. It's matched to your N number and your million-digit password. So those are when you like, what's my username and password? That's your username and password. So I can't get that one. I'm going to go back to my folder. Can I find another one? And this is the reality of what it's going to be. The full text finder is going to try and do its thing, but it doesn't always. And again, it didn't. This may actually be 2 in a row. Maybe that something's wrong on the system end of it. It's a little weird. But again, I can do that request. If you request something that we actually have, we'll tell you where it is. I think they'll still send it to you. But we'll just say this is where you could have found it. But if I found these 4 and I want to export them into, I want to put them in my Refworks account, I have the export option. And I want to do, again, the direct export to Refworks. I'm going to save it. It's going to do all 4 of them at once. So I don't have to do the one at a time thing. It's going to do all 4 of them at once. It saved them all. And those are the 4. So I could select all 4 of these. I only want one of these. I want one of these. And I could then take these and create my bibliography. Or I could then go into my paper and write my paper. Again, remember, I didn't edit any of them. I just took them as they were, junk and all, directly from the database. And the databases can be really junky. But it did generate that, and it's a good sight faster than what it would have been if I'd have not done that. Now, I mentioned the folders. Your folders you can create. You'll notice the folder button. You can do plus, add a folder. I do folders based on the classes I teach. You can do your folders however you want. Things can be in multiple folders. Things can be moved between folders. If you delete things from your all documents list, you delete them from everywhere. Be careful about deleting things. Don't make yourself upset. I did this with a class one time. It was a graduate class. And someone didn't like that it loaded in the all documents and it was very messy for her. She just didn't like that messy thing. And so she deleted everything. Luckily, she had just been playing. But she deleted it because she needed it to be clean, but she deleted everything. So don't get over the all documents as messy. Open it up into your folder, and your folder will not be quite so messy. The last imported, I think, shows the last 30 days of what you've imported. I haven't taught a class in a while, so this is the only stuff I've done recently in my in this Refworks account. So that's what you'll see here. And then I can go back from EBSCO. I can go back and keep searching. You can create an account in EBSCO. So you could have a PubMed account. You could have an EBSCO account. You could be keeping things there if you want to do that. Whatever works for you is what you want to do. Do you have questions about searching in here? Okay. So I'm going to go back to the databases, and the Cochrane library is the other one that I'm going to show you. Any of you search Cochrane? Okay, so some of you used it. Again, you've got the option to do the advanced search. Yes?
If you find something that's in a different language, is there a way to get it translated? Like, is there any tools?
Some of the databases will have a translate button, so you can look for a button that translates it. Typically, no. There are the one database I know translates are the Gale resources, which are not any of the databases you all would be using. They do a translation. They actually, though, in the world of interesting things, they do translation, but they also have a thing, it'll read to you. So if you find your articles in a Gale database, It'll translate, but it will also, so for those of you who commute, this is something I had never occurred to me. I do audiobooks all the time. It's the only way I read is audiobooks. I have a friend who does audio articles. So she downloads the articles and then has the system read them to her while she's driving. There is a system. I don't know if we're going to.
But it's like that's more like literature.
It does a lot of different. They do a lot of different topics. So this is our all database lists. I'm going to pull up Gale as our vendor. I'm going to just go into academic one file. So we're, and I'm just going to search for, somebody give me a word. Now you have to spell it again. PE. Okay. I have no idea if we'll find anything. We found a whole bunch. So if you find an article, these are not the kind of, and they don't all do it, but if you find the article, so this is an article within this database, you can listen to it.
So you have to go through Gale.
You have to get
A
it from that
comparative
database.
randomized study to evaluate the effect
From
of
this
gabapentin alone and in combination with labetalol in attenuation.
That would
A
make
comparative randomized study to
Stop,
evaluate
woman,
the
stop.
effect of gabapentin
Why won't she
alone and
stop?
in combination with labetalol.
So it is not like, so I listen to audiobooks and there's a narrator and it's lovely. This is a computer, but I do know people who listen to them. It's like the only way they can get stuff read because they spend so much time in a car. It would make me crazy, but it is doable. But they also have the translate option as well. So if you see in the tools, it's worth your time to look at tools in different databases because they do different stuff. This is the translate article. So if you wanted to read this in Finnish, I can't even imagine. I don't know if it will actually do it. It's thinking about it. I will say I am a huge fan of Gale Resources. They do a lot of stuff right for the library world. They don't do health stuff. But they obviously have articles. We're just not searching in there. I don't know that it's actually going to translate. So I'm going to go back to Cochrane, and we'll do the Cochrane search. So again, Cochrane is it's very similar to the other ones that you've seen. We're going to put in GABA. And you'll see that, again, as I typed, it populated the word for me. Here, though, what you'll notice, we went to the advanced search, but you're only seeing one search box. To get the second search box, you just need to click the little plus sign. So just the little plus will add or subtract boxes for you. And it was pain. So I'm going to do pain control. I'm going to search. And we get 7. It is looking at Cochrane reviews. It is only looking at Cochrane reviews. But we could add in other things. So if we wanted trials, so again, that question, your universal question, meta-analysis and different things, this is where you want to look. The different types of results, you would add those in to get different results. So you want to look under the different results. You also have different search. So within your search, the search limits is a search limit button up here. So you could look at, what do you want to add in for your search results here if you want to add in different filters. So again, different search databases do things a little differently and you want to play with those. And I do have to confess, I have never tried to add something from Cochrane to Refworks. So we'll see what happens. And I think export central citation. it's going to send it as a text file. Let's try the save to Refworks and see if it will do that. Maybe not. It's not going to do anything. Oh, it's working on it. The other thing is the save to Refworks can sometimes be slow, and I am ridiculously impatient. So while it's doing its thing, I'm going to close some windows because that's not helping us. And the fact that nothing's happening says to me that the save to Refworks won't happen. So our other option here is I'm going to go back to, I'm going to open up my Refworks account. Because this is sort of the fourth option for getting things into Refworks, is if you can't export it, we could export that we could import the text file, is you can actually add a citation, a reference manually. So you can create a reference and you would just literally add the information in manually. So when I mentioned my engineers, the stuff doesn't work for them, they do a lot of manual adding. You can imagine how much they love that. They think everything should be automatic. So we can just do the plus and then add something automatically. So that would be our option. Okay, so we've looked at a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Do you guys have any questions about things we've covered? Yes.
There were 2 questions.
Okay.
That were asked.
Oh, yes.
One of them, the truncation and wildcards.
Okay.
And the other one, finding citations that are in the article.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pay you for coming to work today. Okay, so we're going to go back to gabapentin and pain control. And I'm just going to see what we come up with. So we'll start with the truncation and the wildcards. Truncation and wildcard are ways that you can get variations on a word. So truncation allows you to use a shorter version of a word and get all endings of it. A lot of times it's plurals. So like if you were looking for the word library, but you would take libraries or librarians, then you'd think about how could I use that? Where would I truncate that word so I'd get all the endings for it? So I'm going to add this here, and so it would be, so I would take library, but I would also take libraries, a librarian. In this system, it gives you options. In some systems, you can add what we call, we use a symbol at the end, and that varies from system to system. And so I always use the help, because every system is different, and sometimes it's an exclamation point, sometimes it's an asterisk, sometimes it's nothing. So sometimes if you just stop typing, it brings up the rest, it'll do all of the variations for you. I use the help to find that out because we have a lot of databases and I can't retain them all. But I know that it will do it. And so I'm going in, I'm looking at search, and I am looking for wildcard and truncation symbols. They're almost always called the same thing. Librarians call them wildcard and truncation all the time. It'll explain to you what they do. And so truncation is, I want to truncate the word and get the endings on it. And here, truncation is using an asterisk, and it's anything. Typically, you have to have a minimum number of characters. The fewer number of characters you use for truncation, the more you lend yourself to getting things that have no relevance at all to what you're searching for. I once truncated fern because the person wanted fern or ferns. And so we got Fernandina, we got Fernandez, we got all kinds of crazy stuff. That has forever embedded in my mind because that was probably 25 years ago. But it was just such horrible results that I will never forget. Be careful where you truncate. But in the world of systems that we have today, they will frequently come up with options for you. The wildcard allows you to replace certain characters. And so in this system, it says they're using a question mark or a pound, and they'll do different things. So the wildcard question mark, it replaces each unknown character. So wildcards are great for variations in spelling, or you're not sure about the spelling, or you want to get the British spelling and you want the U or not the U. And then, so they're using, and it looks like they're using the hashtag as the alternate spelling option. So you get color or color. Does that make sense? And again, those are the kind of things, if you work with a librarian to create a search, and we find that you need those options, we would help you find it. But there are help screens on every database we have, and they really work. I use them all the time. I will never be able to remember all the wildcard truncation options. Now, gentleman in the back asked about finding the citations for an article. So I'm going to just pull up this article, and it has the full text. I'm going to scroll through here because I'm looking for something specific, and I'm not seeing it. So this article has the PDF of the full text of the article that he's looking for. I'm going to tell you all to close your eyes because we're going to go to the end. And he's looking for... So what you want is you want to be able to quickly click on those links in that bibliography and follow them. Okay, that's what I thought. Some databases allow you to do that automatically, and some databases don't. And then some databases, it's article to article. So it depends on how the article was added, if you can do that. This article doesn't appear to have it, but I'm going to go back to my results list. And I'm going to quickly scan, yep, number 3 here. So see number 3 it says cited references. So where it says cited references, you know what that's going to get you? That's going to get you that list you wanted. So these are the 26 articles that were cited by the original article you started with are now showing up. And you can use the full text finder, or you can just download you can find the full text. Does that make you happy? I don't think PubMed does that. I will show you another database. You're not going to get an early lunch. But I'm going to show you another database that is designed specifically to do that. I'm just going to open up the library again. So, I don't know. The database that I'm thinking of is called Web of Science. So I went to our database list. I went too fast. So I went to the Find Databases. I know specifically what I want as the citation is the Web of Science because it actually allows you to search by citation. So I just went to Find Databases. I went to W. And will you make a note, Stephanie, that we should add Web of Science to the nursing list if it's not already there? I will add this to your database list. It won't take long. So if we're looking for, if we're in this database, and it's called Web of Science, it does sciences, it does social sciences, we're going to add arts and humanities. It's a humongous database, lots and lots of content. Your topics are very specific. So Web of Science actually might work for you because your topics are so specific. We can search, I don't want to do the basic search. We're going to start with basic here. In this search, you can do basic and you can add fields. And I'm going to do something easy that I can type. I'm just searching for diabetes by topic. If I find an article that I'm interested in, the way this works is the purpose of this database is to sort of trace who's citing your research. So the idea that you're looking at is, this article pertains to me, what did it cite, and then who cited it, because you're going in both directions. And this is, at this level of research, these are both things you want to do. So when you find something here, so I'm looking at this article, and I can see it's a brand new article. It was written in winter of 2018. It was just written. So nobody has cited this article yet, but there are 53 cited references in this article. You see that? And so I can click on these 53. This is a huge rabbit hole. So I can now see all 53 of those references, and then I can see who cited them. So this may be, like, if this is a way you're really interested in doing research, this may be your fourth database. Like, if you're really into that cited referencey part of it, this may be the fourth database you want to use if you can find relevant material. And I think you may be able to. I know that, the nutrition faculty, we did a session with them using this database. They're all in here. So I'm sure the nursing faculty is all in here. But this allows you to just run that gamut into whatever rabbit hole you want to head down. Does that make sense? And so for this one, I'm going to go back to the search because I do want to show you the advanced search here. This is where don't do what she said. The advanced search here requires that you know how to combine things with all the right parens and stuff. Basic search will do that for you. You'll just add another field. So in here, basic search allows you to combine different topics, where typically we've been seeing that in advanced, if that makes sense. And you can export from here into Refworks as well. Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Okay, any other questions from y'all? We have done a lot. We have done a ton. So as we said, this session will be recorded. It's going to require some processing. But once it's up, we'll put it in, and I will try to remember to make an announcement in the class. I am going to be on leave for the next week. I will be in and out. I will be reading my emails. So if you send me an email, I will see it. If you need an appointment, you won't be able to schedule an appointment with me, but anybody can help you. So if you know you're going to be back next Friday, I don't think I'll be here. I'll be real honest, I don't think I'll be here. But anybody can help you if you wanted to schedule an appointment next week. That's an option. As you have questions, just ask. We have an email that you can send, a generic email to the library to get an answer from anybody. So those are all options for you. So any other questions? Okay, so we actually do have a quiz. I was going to forget to do this. The real quiz: what is my name? What are you going to do when you spend an hour looking for something and you're frustrated? You're going to call the library. Okay. Yay. Yay. Good. Okay. So the thing I need you to do before you leave is we actually do have a quiz for you. As part of our instruction program, we have a minute paper we'd like you to do. So if you would go to that URL, there are 2 questions for you. It's kind of a what did you learn or what do you want to know? If you have a question that you want followed up on, you can put in the question and not put in any contact information, and I actually have access to y'all's Canvas class so I can send out notes. But if you put an email address, I will actually follow up and email you with an answer. Again, I will be on leave, so I won't promise how fast that'll happen. But if one thing that you learned that was really helpful, and then if you have any questions that you'd like me to follow up with, and then with that, we're done.